when we're dealing with that mirrored masculinity, men are going to be coming at you with all of this future faking, with these ideas of what it is that they're going to do for you, what they're going to make happen for you, what y'all's life is going to be like. So they're making all these plans. So before getting to know you at all, they're already making all these future plans about the things that the two of you are going to be doing together. I have notes because I wanted to make sure that I really got into this specific part because it's so important, y'all. It's so important. It's going to explain a lot to you as well. So when someone comes in and starts talking to you about making all these plans together and creating a life together and getting all of those juices flowing, what's going to happen is we're going to start getting an oxytocin hit. Okay? How does it feel? This is why we do this a lot in manifestation practices, right? It's something I teach when we are meditating to visualize what it is that we want to be experiencing. And doesn't that make us feel good? When we're in this visualization, we're seeing the house that we want to be in. We're seeing us waking up next to a partner that we love and adore who feels the same way about us. We're seeing ourselves, talking in front of hundreds of women and making an impact and feeling all these amazing feelings in us as we do so. We're triggering oxytocin. This is a way that we raise our vibration. And we're getting that connection going in our brain saying, yes, 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 this is possible. So when we have someone else who's doing this and triggering all of these emotions, all of these feelings, and getting that oxytocin running, we have to remember that oxytocin is the bonding hormone. This is why this strategy is so effective, and this is why they do it. If we think about if you had a child and you breastfed, or if you're thinking about doing that at some point, that's something that they talk about a lot. When the child latches, it releases oxytocin. It's that bonding hormone for both. So it creates a connection between the mother and the child. Oxytocin is a very, very powerful hormone. It's why people become addicted to sex. It's why people love sex. It's not so much the physical enjoyment, but it's that chemical release, that chemical hit, okay, in the brain of this oxytocin. So this future faking and all these plans to create this future, this is getting oxytocin just choo, 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 choo. And if we're someone who has been unhappy or struggling in some way, have not gotten into a place where we have full, complete, unconditional love for ourselves and have found satisfaction in our life and done the healing work that we need to do that, and we have been down or frustrated or feeling overwhelmed or discouraged, and we have someone come into our life who starts doing this and starts painting a picture of how much better they're going to make things, our brain is going to light up like a Christmas tree. And they know this. That's why they do it. So the brain is going to light up like a Christmas tree, and it's going to start getting these hits that we have not been feeling in a long time. Okay? And so we've got all of this oxytocin running through our brain. This is why we start to overlook very obvious red flags and different things like that, because it feels so good. And we haven't felt good in a long time. Okay? This is why people who are generally happy and satisfied with their life, they don't really go into these things because they see it very quickly, and it's like, dude, I don't need you to do all that for me. Like, what are you doing? Why are you not trying to get to know me? Like, this is weird, right? But if we've been in a place where we're down and out and frustrated, discouraged, feeling hopeless, and we've got somebody coming in and hitting our brain like that, holy moly, we're lit up, okay? And this is not our fault. This is just the reality. This is just how this plays out. This is why so many people in this masculines and feminines who go into this energy, I'm sticking with masculines with this, but that mirrored masculinity, this is where they'll go into the whole twin flame concept. Okay? because they can utilize it to justify why they're not actually getting to know you, and they're doing all of this future faking and literally like bombing your brain with all of this oxytocin when you're first getting to know them. Because we don't need to get to know each other. We've known each other for many lifetimes, right? We're already soulmates. We're already this. We're already that. We've never felt this way about anyone. It must be kismet. It must be whatever. You'll hear these things, right? So they're trying to explain away why they're not actually trying to get to know you. They're not trying to get to know you because they don't care. They don't want to get to know you. They don't want to get to know your needs and your feelings and your likes and your dislikes just enough to love bomb you in the beginning again, to get all this oxytocin hitting and light your brain up. But they're not getting to know you because they just don't want to get to know you. It's not important to them. What's important to them is the way that your response to them setting off your oxytocin does for them. So this is why they do this, is because it's like an energetic vampire, really. It's like, I'm going to activate all your oxytocin and I want to see it mirrored back to me. And this is what makes me feel good about myself. Seeing your oxytocin response makes me feel like I'm doing something right. And that's all I care about, is that validation that I'm doing something right. So give me all your oxytocin validation, and I'm going to feed you as much as I can. But what happens is over time, right, the reality starts to set in. All of these future plans, the house that they're going to buy for you and the business that they're going to build for you or whatever, they can't do it. They can't follow through. So then we start having expectations for them to do it, and then we're getting hit with being selfish, or we're too possessive of them, or we're obsessed with them, or it's our fault, or whatever, right? Because we're no longer mirroring back this oxytocin to them, and so therefore we're becoming useless to them. I don't want it anymore because you're not able to give me that validation of this bright Christmas tree that's been happening in your brain. So you're the problem because you can't give me that hit anymore. This is what's going on with these people. Okay. So we have to be mindful. If you're coming into a situation and you're seeing this and they pull out that, oh, it's because we're twin flames. Run. Like, seriously, even if someone is a twin flame, you're still going to want to get to know each other so that you're sure. And you could meet a twin flame and you date for years before going into like a relationship, or you're friends for years before going into that. Okay. A healthy relationship is going to be based around getting to know each other and taking things slow. Anytime someone comes into something immediately making plans for the future, that is the biggest red flag. And we should all start taking note of this. And if we're finding that we like it, that's a cue for us to say, what's going on with my brain chemistry right now? That even though I can see that this is a red flag, I want to ignore it because this feels so good. Okay, that's an invitation for us to check in with ourselves and our own mental health and what we can do to support ourselves and our own feel good juices. Okay. All right, let me make sure. Okay, so what happens with this in the brain is, as they do all the future faking and they make us feel so good because we haven't been feeling good and they're lighting us up, we end up falling in love with this idea of them. We're not falling in love with them. We think we are, but we're falling in love with this idea because for many who have fallen prey to this, I have been one of them, we have not been in the greatest place mentally with our life, etc., at this time. So we have really been wanting to feel like we're going to catch a break. And so when this man comes in, especially if we've kind of fallen for the old like Cinderella syndrome, where it's like someone's going to come in and rescue me, save me from this crap that's my life right now, we are easily susceptible to this level of manipulation. And so we fall in love with this idea because they have presented all of these solutions. I'm going to make your life better. I'm going to fix it all. It's all going to be fine. I'm going to take care of all of it. And so we're like, Oh, thank God, because it's been awful and I've been struggling and I've been having a really hard time emotionally and I've been exhausted and I've been etc. And they're like, I'm gonna take care of it. And we feel like we can finally sit back and say, oh my God, thank you. I can rest. Okay. That's what we fall in love with. That creates even more releases of oxytocin. And it creates these false feelings of being in love with someone. This is why, like, people will meet over social media. Somebody will live in Canada and the other person lives in Australia, and they've created this dynamic. And one person already feels in love. Like, they literally feel, I am deeply in love with this man. I have never seen him. I've never peered into his eyes in person. I've never touched his skin. I have never felt his body move as he laughs. I've never heard his heartbeat, but I am deeply and passionately, madly in love with this man. We're convinced. We're convinced. And it's all because these brain chemistry wackadoo things that are going on. Okay. We also need to remember that we have dopamine that comes into play with this, because they're working on us twofold. They're coming in with this concept of, let me get all this oxytocin going and create these like scenarios of, this is what we're going to have together. This is what we're going to create together. Let me bond with them and get all this yummy, juicy energy going. And then we're going to be talking about all of those plans. So not only have I told them I'm going to do it, now I'm going to keep talking about those plans. I'm going to take them shopping for their new dream car. Maybe I'm going to do that. I'm going to really get that dopamine rush associated with me. I'm really going to like lay it on. I'm going to support their business. I'm going to do something for them, really get that dopamine going in their brain. So we've got that going too. So now, again, if we've been feeling low, we've got someone who has come in who has now activated oxytocin and dopamine fast. Okay, this is firing off in our brain. And so now we're like, oh my God, this feels so good. I've never felt this way before. This feels so good. And it's just because of the way our brain chemistry is being affected. Now, not only do we have those things going on, but I'm going to take this a little bit deeper for you. And this is where I'm going to like rock some people here with this. There is also another hormone that gets involved with this entire process called, I had to write it down, vasopressin. Okay, vasopressin. This is so fascinating. This hormone is what I refer to as, in the way that as I was studying it, is like the mama bear hormone. Okay, it gets activated and mama bear steps up and she's like, oh no, you don't. Okay. What we're going to find is that many of these men who come in with this kind of love bombing and the future faking and the mirrored masculinity, most of them are also going to come in with some type of sob story. They've got something going on in their life and they're a victim. They're this great guy and they've just really gotten this raw deal. It's most of us at this age. I'm 38, so at this point in our life, they're probably coming out of a divorce, and it has to do with, or they're already separated and the divorce is final. Now it's like custody. Well, I can't. My ex is always keeping me away from my kids. And she's so terrible, and it just breaks my heart. Or, see, I wrote down different scenarios, but I can't even read them. Like, I'm fighting for custody, or she's trying to take all my money, or she's trying to take my house, or she's trying to do this, and it's just terrible, and I'm being so victimized, and this terrible situation is happening to me. And so because they have created all this oxytocin and all of this dopamine, now vasopressin is actually a type of oxytocin. Now we're getting this hormone activated too, because we've created this really deep bond with this person very fast. Okay. And so now we're feeling this protectiveness, this defensiveness, towards this person. I can't believe this wonderful person who wants to make all my dreams come true is being treated like garbage by this other person. And we get very activated and fueled up in our body from this vasopressin. This is the hormone that is involved in trauma bonding. This person is going through a trauma and we get on their side. We're now on their team and we've got their back because now we're mama bear. We've got their back and we're going to protect them. This is what happens a lot of times when we'll see friends who are falling into this and they get so defensive when we call them out, when we say, hey, that dude, like, what is going on? You don't even know him. Like, what is happening here? And like, you're on the phone saying, I love you after 5 days. Like, what is happening? And then they just fire off. They are incredibly defensive, protective of this relationship. And it's wild. It's like out of nowhere. It's because of the vasopressin that has gotten activated by this person's whatever sob story, victim, whatever that's going on. Everything's so hard for them and they're so great. Why is everyone so mean to them? Why is it so awful for them? And we just get in there and we're like, oh my gosh, I've got your back. I'm going to defend you. I'm going to protect you. I'm going to be all this. And then this actually makes us feel even more in love with them. This is why we go into this space after just a few weeks where we start to gaslight ourselves and we ignore all of these red flags, all of these, it could be something running back and forth, red flag across the yard, right? And we're, nope, I don't see it. Nope, I don't see it. Nope, I don't see it. It's because we're so desperate. I'm going to use that word with love. We're so desperate to go back to how it was in the beginning to get that oxytocin and dopamine hit. And we cannot figure out why we're not getting it anymore. Why aren't we getting it? What are we doing wrong now? They promised us all this stuff. They said they were going to do this. We've been faithful to them. We've been supportive of them. We've had their back. We've been defending them, isolating ourselves from our friends. And now we're not getting this same hit from them. And so we continue to try. We continue to self-abandon. We continue to ignore the red flags and gaslight ourselves. And it just becomes this mess until they realize, oh, I'm not getting that same validation high that I was getting from their oxytocin. So that I've had enough. And they'll still say, because they want to see that validation come back. They'll say, I'm never going to love anyone like you, or I'm never going to feel a connection like this again, or da 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 da. But they do that to continue that attachment. But then they're like already moving on to the next person, the next hit. Meanwhile, this individual that has been victimized by this person, and it could have been weeks, just weeks or months, they are now devastated. They are now feeling so broken, so hurt, so depressed. Honestly, they're just devastated that this person, and it's not because the person left, it's because the dream left.